star. She's a rock star. There we go. All right, so everybody welcome Marcia to the panel. All right, so for everybody watching Facebook Live and or YouTube that didn't get an opportunity to hear some of the introductions, I'd like to introduce everyone on this panel today as a way of saying thank you for not only for them being here, but for the relationships that I've built with them over the past several years. So here on the left, we have Donovan Ruffin. Donovan, would you mind kind of explaining a little bit about yourself, your past, and give yourself maybe a 4 or 5 minute introduction?
What's up, guys? I'm Donnie. How are you guys today? Okay, cool. I live here in McKinney, Texas. My office is like 7 minutes on the road here in Addison. I got into real estate almost 6 years ago. I did like 6 deals my first year, wholesale, and then I was really intrigued by like the fix and flip, like a lot of you guys probably are. So I really took that serious. And, you know, I just constantly reinvested into my business, into myself, my personal development. Constantly making people around me better, you know, and I had a marketing company for a long time, and then about almost 2 years ago, I shut that down completely, and it was kind of like conflict of interest, you know. I was hiring sales reps for 2 different companies, so it just made more sense to just stick with one, and I chose real estate, and I mean, it's just been a journey ever since I started, really, and I'm here to learn as well. So
how many transactions last year? And from there, I don't know if you like talking about this, but would you share how old you were when you got started?
When I first got started, I was about 20. I'm almost 26 now, so yeah, I guess almost 6 years in the game. And yeah, we almost did 200 transactions last year. Obviously, it's not just me. There's no way in hell I could do all that by myself. I have a great team. They're rock stars. They're awesome. They make good money too, so it's like,
awesome. That's what
business
this is
great,
about, right?
But it's business, you know. It's like gross profits is a little bit different than net profits, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, still growing, still looking to learn, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Awesome. So, Michael. Oh, that's up to them. I think I think at the end, if y'all would like to disclose that, you know, we can discuss that towards the end. Okay. Michael.
Man, so Dallas, see, I come from San Antonio, and I got my boy Frank with me. In Dallas, man, you guys are so awesome that, one, you guys have Propelio here, man. So shout out to Propelio.
Thank you.
So San Antonio, man, we're very fond of Daniel and the Propelio team and the Propelio Academy, so just a shout out to that. But if you guys don't know who I am, my name is Michael Giannis. My partner's name is Charles Hernandez, couldn't be here today. We run and operate Home Buying, Home Selling Solutions. We're out in San Antonio. Like I said earlier, we have a staff of 22 individuals with all different tasks, from calling to text messaging, bandit signs, from flipping houses. So we do a little bit of everything. I know Daniel talked about, as a wholesaler, where to start off and where to begin. Charles and myself, we started together about 8 years ago flipping houses. And we were flipping houses, and I think at one point we had about 7 flips at a time. And we got another flip to come in. I was like, man, this is a good deal, but we're so tight on funds because we're so leveraged. I was like, let's try this wholesaling thing out, man. Let's see what all these people are talking about wholesaling. So we wholesaled it, and I think we made $8,000 on that deal. It's like, man, $8,000 in about 2-3 days versus we're doing all these flips. Cool. Did another one. Next thing you know, we shifted our focus from flipping to wholesaling, and we really try to perfect it. We really try to fine-tune in just different systems and processes. But yeah, 8 years. We do flipping house. We still flip houses. I think currently we do 4. Probably at the last year, the peak, we had about 8 at a time. Subject twos. I know we didn't talk about too much about subject twos, but we do quite a few subject twos in San Antonio. And of course, we're doing subject twos in El Paso, Laredo. We're doing deals in Laredo. We're trying to do sub two in Corpus. So we're doing a little bit of that. We do rentals, and we started our Airbnb. And of course, we try to be diversified. So we do a little bit of multifamily. We're part of a syndication deal. It's here, as a matter of fact, it's in Fort Worth. It's a 142-unit deal that we did here. But
awesome.
in essence, if wholesaling was what we're here to talk about, we do wholesale. We love wholesaling. Our team does wholesaling. We really try to perfect it as a craft, because that's what it is, whether you're starting as your first individual, or maybe a team of 3, or a team of 22, or a team of 47 VAs. However you guys do it, man, I really want to provide value. I'm sure everyone up here wants to do the same thing too.
Awesome. So, Jay Coleman, Christopher Fiedel.
Hey everybody, my name is Jay Coleman. This is my wife Marcia Coleman, and we are a tag team here with JMC Property Group. So a little bit about us. So we basically kind of got into real estate. I could say, so this is going on our 4th year. So I could remember basically 4 years ago being on the exact side of the room that a lot of you guys are right now. Like just looking like, oh my God, this is just an amazing opportunity. It was all overwhelming and all that type of stuff, but we saw the opportunity. So nonetheless, fast forward. So we've been doing wholesaling now for about 4 years. My wife and I, so I left, so we started in 2016. I left corporate America in 2017 and did wholesaling full time. My wife left corporate America in 2018. So we've been doing it full time together since 2018. And it's just been a wonderful opportunity. Like this is all we do. We primarily do wholesaling. We are going to start getting into some rentals this year. So just so you guys know, we're not just wholesaling, we are buyers as well. But it's a wonderful opportunity. I can't tell you guys how much it's changed our lives. So awesome. Everybody on this panel right here are great people. Everybody wants to see you guys win. I want to see you guys win. And my wife and I, we actually do a lot of JV deals. It's also called co-wholesaling. We'll talk about that. I actually have a whole section tomorrow where I'll actually be kind of talking about that. But basically kind of what just in a general gist what JVing is helping you guys. So essentially everybody in here right now, you're going to get a lot of value from today. You're going to get a lot of gold nuggets from today and tomorrow total. But then you need to actually put it into action. So having somebody that can actually be there to kind of help you guys get those deals across the table and be that resource for you, my wife and I do that every month with a lot of wholesalers throughout our market. So I'm sure I'll definitely be working with a lot of you guys, and I'm looking forward to helping you guys get to the top.
Awesome. Christopher Friedel.
Both of these work? Yeah, my name is Christopher Friedel. I'm a little bit different, and I'm an individual investor. I do work with wholesaling. Kind of, started out in the business doing my first property, doing a flip, and just one after the other. So, started a couple of different hard money lending companies, built those out, and now focus primarily. I've got do some private lending, flips, a lot of owner finance. And a lot of wholesaling. The way that I work with wholesaling, though, is I don't do direct mail. I just work with individuals in the marketplace. So there's a lot of opportunity out there. If you have the knowledge to make money, even if you do not have the marketing dollars to go out there and maybe send out the direct mail. So right now, a lot of deals that I'm working with right now are just working with an individual wholesaler. I like the private loans, getting private loans, so I like helping wholesalers sell their deals so I can get the loan out of it. And then I like buying deals, and maybe a wholesaler doesn't have the money to take it down and it's an interesting property and needs to stay out on the market for a little bit, and we'll just list it on the MLS. So there's a lot of opportunities out there. And I'd say everybody's talking about how many deals that they do. I probably one of the smaller ones, I'd say last year I was party to, 80 transactions or so. And so, my objective is 10 a month, but, sometimes we get there, sometimes we don't. I'm a huge fan of the cash flow deals. Getting to that point where your cash flow exceeds your monthly expenses is just, once you hit that point, it's amazing. It's, you basically bought your life back from corporate America or whatever, needing to, you bought your life back. So
Awesome. RJ Bates.
Hello. Oh, it does work.
We both need one anyways.
Yeah, I talk way more than you.
So I'm RJ. This is Cassi. We're local here to Dallas-Fort Worth. We both live in Fort Worth, Texas. Our company is Titanium Investments. As of January 1st, we've officially been doing this full-time for 5 years. We did do some transactions in 2014 when we were contractors.
We didn't like that very much.
Yeah, contracting's hard. And January 1, we were working because we were so broke. And I went into Cassie's apartment because that was our office. And I told her, I was like, I'm done with this. I believe in wholesaling. We're going to do this. We had just closed a transaction that we made $27,000 on as the wholesale fee. And we basically use those funds to springboard us into that first year. So for all of you guys that are wanting to do this and achieve something, I want to tell you that it's so obtainable and it's easy to be done. That first year, we did over $700,000 in assignment fees, and we did not know what we were doing.
At all.
So if you just go out and you take massive action and you listen to the advice that Daniel put together today, which I caught several hours of it today while we were working, it was incredible. Take all of that, put it into action, and incredible things will happen. Now, as far as what we do wholesaling still, but we do flips, we do rentals, we do owner financing, we do Airbnbs. We've done multifamily. We've pretty much done everything that you can think of, which I would not advise to do.
Yeah, and I'm a broker.
Yeah. So far in 2020, I know, what is it, the third? Yeah. So in 2020 so far, we've sold a rental in Ohio. We've owner financed a house in Texas. We bought an Airbnb in Hawaii. And we have appointments in Arizona and here in Texas. So
And we sold 2 houses.
yeah, so we do quite a bit across the country. I don't know what our volume was last year because our KPIs were not as good as they should have been. I actually watched the KPI section earlier today. We have it broken down by market, so I don't know exactly how many deals we did last year, but I'm going to assume it's going to be well above 150. So
I was going to say right around 200, I think.
we've owned a couple of hundred units as far as rentals go. We've sold a bunch of those because we failed forward. And as far as wholesaling goes, I suggest to everyone in this room that's the best strategy to get started. And from there, I mean, you become the next Jay Coleman. I mean, I've watched this guy come up, and Marsha. I shouldn't say that, but I know, right? But I've watched these guys come up. I mean, they started a year after we did, and I've seen them come up and seeing them now branch off into rentals. It's awesome. So super excited to be a part of the panel today and pour into you guys.
So
What he said.
Thank you
No,
all.
so our operation works basically, just so you guys know, for your questions, he's more CEO, I'm more COO. Yeah, I mean, and then everything that he said. So your questions get specific, go from there.
Awesome. So here's the plan for the afternoon. I'd like to say thank you all. I respect all of y'all greatly. Y'all have all accomplished far more than I think I ever could. And all of that to be said, I want everybody in this room to recognize the time frame that they have accomplished this in. Donovan looking at 6 years, 8 years, 4 years, another 4 or 5 years, and probably 7 or 8 years. This is all a very short period of time, and can I across the board agree that real estate investing has changed your lives? So this is a large group of people standing here saying, in a short period of time, this can truly change your life. So where I'm trying to get everyone here is you've got a wealth of information in front of you. We talked about a lot of topics today. Now is the time for the next hour and a half to just let questions flow. Let's chop it up and have some fun. So anybody in here got some questions? We got hands popping up here.
Okay, I'm not sure who to direct this question to. As far as executing a contract over the phone, and just basically getting the thing tied up so you have control over it. Do you go in, whoever answers it, do you go in and tell the customer, hey, we're going to set it at this point, and then do a price reduction afterwards and explain the process and the documentation of it? Or you just slide it in and say, hey, we can do this much and we'll evaluate it after I get there as long as everything is you say it is?
I'll take a swing at this one. And then I think Donovan also probably does a lot over the phone. So I actually still do quite a bit of acquisitions for our company myself because I get energy out of it. It's not something that I want to delegate to other people full time. I enjoy doing it. So when I try to lock something up over the phone, I try to base everything on square footage, the year built, the market knowledge. While I'm on the phone, I'm pulling up comps and I'm looking at the pictures of the properties that have either sold or are on the market, and I'm analyzing, this is not a new kitchen, this is not a new bathroom, or maybe it is, and then I'm basing my contracting knowledge on that, or just price per square foot. So starting with something like $25 or $30 a square foot for cosmetic rehab, that's how I'm coming up with those numbers, and then that's what I'm basing my offer on. So when I'm locking it up, I'm not locking it up at a price where I think there's gonna need to be a price reduction. I'm trying to find what their pain point is, and while I'm doing that, I'm running my numbers internally in my head. We're never actually talking numbers. I'm just trying to figure out what their pain point is, and then when I get down to actually talking numbers, at that point in time, I should be deep enough where I never have to worry about doing a price reduction.
And we do tell them that it's contingent upon, and this goes for our entire acquisitions team, it is contingent upon us verifying upon a walkthrough, but we're trying to get to a very close number on the phone. So, I mean, obviously if we go there and, you know, the roof is falling apart and they're saying it's fine because it's not pouring down water, that's something you can explain to your seller. So we don't go into it anyways, assuming we will be doing a price reduction. But we do say it is contingent upon us verifying this information with our own eyes on site.
All right. Well, I guess a simple way to answer that, especially because who in here has yet to do their first deal? Or who has done at least one deal? Okay, so you've done one deal. Okay. You have to understand from the mindset of the seller's only going to sell maybe one or two houses their entire life. And I mean, you got to think about how many times they're actually going to pull comps on a house their entire life. It's probably never, ever. They have no idea. So essentially, kind of what we do is, because we do everything over the phone. Like 95% of our business is all over the phone for multiple reasons. But it comes down to the reality. It's just you have to understand from the seller's perspective, what do they want? At the end of the day, they contacted you or you contacted them or whatever, and they agreed to sell their house, right? They care about the money. So what we do is, we use Propelio, right? Anybody in here use Propelio? Okay, cool. The event was free, but you guys have to get Propelio. No. Not kidding. But we look for like the cheapest houses that have possibly sold within a half mile, and then get it under that.
Can I disclose how many comps you run a month?
You said what?
Can you disclose how many comps you run a month?
Like hundreds.
Thousands.
Like you probably check it on Propelio, huh?
I can see the amount of comps ran, and you run about 3,000 to 5,000 comps a month.
Really? I didn't. Yeah. So. Yeah, like hundreds of properties. We get like hundreds of leads, or a little over 100 leads a day now, but it's like constantly running comps. So I just look, hey, what's the cheapest house that's sold in a half mile and ever, and the past or however much time, and try to get it under that. But we have certain ways where we can get we hit them with 6 different price drops every single time. But we want to make sure we lock it up around the price that we need it at. But we ask them, it's just like right before we're about to lock the contract up, we're like, hey, so, this is super tight for us. Obviously we're going to have to go look at it, but, can you help me out a little bit with this price? And then you just wait for them to respond. You guys would be so amazed by what they would tell you. And a lot of people are trying to give them the price, but you want to get the price out of them. You never know what they're going to say. There was one time where we asked them that one question, and we were on pause for like 15 minutes, literally not saying anything. And they gave us $30,000 off. We only wanted like 4. And then we get to the property, and it's just like, man, this house is shitty. That, or we don't say it in that standpoint. And then it's just like, can you help us out with the price? It's just way too tight. I want to be able to deliver on you. We're getting numbers out of them versus us giving them numbers. Does that make sense? And I think that's the biggest thing, especially when it comes to ethics. We're not getting under contract and then shooting them $100,000 less. We're getting out of them, and then we're constantly doing that. And especially when we send buyers through, so we get pictures, before we get the property under contract, we get a price drop. We walk the property and we get pictures. We get a price drop, and then we walk our contractors, which is our buyers, and then we get their numbers. And then what do you think we do again? A price drop. Does that make sense? And then the HUDs come back, and then what do you think we do again? Price drop. So, I mean, it's just constantly asking them, and it's just a simple question. It's like, hey, can you help us out a little bit with the price? And just wait for them to respond. So, long answer to a short question.
All right.
Wouldn't mind chiming in because he said something about the contract without looking at the house. We kind of been venturing. I was speaking to someone during lunch about virtual wholesaling. Yeah, I was talking about virtual wholesaling. So I was thinking about the question and what we're doing in San Antonio. I'm sure these big heavy hitters are doing the same thing. We do deals out of San Antonio. We're doing deals in Houston, Virginia, Corpus, and all the other stuff without seeing the property. So what we ask the sellers actually to send us photos, and they do. So based off the photos and based off software programs they can use like the Propelio to pull comps in different markets, and then once we just do the DocuSign. So doing that outside the box thinking. Now we didn't target the first few virtual deals that we did. It just happens to be the seller in San Antonio own a home in Corpus or Houston, and we close those deals and just venture with someone like Bates and Coleman and everyone else here that's in that market, and that's the power of social media. So that's what we do on our end. We ask the seller to give us photos, run software systems on comps on Propelio, and then joint venture with someone in that market.
Awesome.
Next question.
I'm here. Good afternoon. My name is Sean. Thanks for being here, all of you guys. My question for you guys is, I'm rather new in real estate. So I've done about the past 5 or 6 months in education, right, online. So for you all, did you all have background in real estate before you started this adventure? And if you did or did not, did you prefer phone calls? How did you get the knowledge, or did you like to speak to the people in person, right? Because that's kind of where I'm at. I don't know the full gamut of it all, so I'd dislike going to a customer and trying to talk to them appropriately about something that I don't have confidence in, right? So I guess 2 things. Where was your background before you started this? And then where was your comfort level whenever you first started? Where did you find that confidence, right?
I'll answer this real fast. Our background is, obviously we were in contracting and we also had a consulting business. Me personally, I preferred very much to be in person. It only came with scaling that we started taking more of that in person and started building more remote rapport, and putting those kind of tactics into our business, because you can technically do more if you're not having to build a team that has to go be it in the homeowner's face through every step of the process. But you know, I've learned to love both. I think everybody in our business has as well. But just personal preference, I would still, if I was still in the field all of the time, I would like to be. I just enjoy getting to know different people. So that's me. That's my answer.
For me personally, I came out of insurance sales and financial services. I couldn't hammer in a nail if I would tried. So I did not have that background in rehab, and I think it's one of those things when you jump into real estate investing, you have to start accumulating skill sets, and running comps is a skill set. Being able to look at a kitchen and know, hey, that's going to cost me $4,000, or that's going to cost me $9,000 to do. That's a skill set, and so you jump in with both feet and you start accumulating those skill sets. And one of the great ways of learning is to go and apprentice with somebody, start working with somebody. You could go to any one of these guys, and I guarantee you they've got work that if you say, hey, I'll do this for free. Let me take sales calls for you. Let me try and sell your houses. And that's literally how I started. Was I contacted a wholesaler that still have a great relationship with today, and I was working with Eric Badawala, and I said, hey, I don't know anything about this, but I've got this property that I managed to put under contract on the MLS, and think you can help me sell it? And so it kind of reversed the tables. He worked to help me try and sell that contract. It was a bad deal that I got under contract, so he helped me get out of it. And then I helped him, move some properties, and it's just kind of gone on from there. So you just start building that up, and I think what people try to do is they start, they get confused trying to do 8 strategies at once. And you focus on one strategy, learning that skill from someone that's good at it. Try and get yourself a mentor, and expand from there. Just expand yourself. So. That's how I did it.
Awesome.
How long have you been trying to learn, did you say?
I would say about 5 or 6 months now. The months are just ticking by, aren't they?
Yeah, so when I was in a room just like this in 2014, I was placing offers on properties before the speakers stopped talking. You need to stop trying to learn and go take action. That's going to be the best way to do it. And as far as not feeling comfortable when you're in the seller's house because you don't know what to say, don't say anything. Just listen. They'll tell you everything that they need. Like, they're going to tell you why they need to sell their house. They're motivated for a reason. And if you just ask questions and listen, the best closers, the best salesmen in the world, they don't talk. They just sit there, they listen, literally just reiterate what they sold you, and then ask a question from that. And before long, they're going to get to why, the deep-rooted pain of why they're trying to sell their house. And they're literally going to get down to such a low number that you're not going to have to think about anything. You're going to realize, I could contract this. This house is worth $200,000. He just told me to sell it to me for $50,000. Like, I can absolutely wholesale this, right? Like, you don't have to know anything at that point in time. So, and as far as like Cassi said, obviously we like just being out there. That's how we learn. I think everybody up here would say that's how we got to where we are today, is just by going out there and getting in the trenches and doing things. And like he said, working with other people.
Yeah, you only need to know a handful of things that you need to know. And then other than that, it's just learning to talk to people, relate to people, have a good relationship with people, which you can do in any room. I mean, that can come very naturally. So.
Or unnaturally.
And to kind of add on to kind of what RJ and Cassie were saying, I 100% agree. Like, I would say the biggest thing is actually just go out there and just start taking action. Go out there, start talking to people, and book an appointment. That's the biggest thing. Talk to people, book an appointment. Once you book an appointment, anyone up here is willing to help you out. Marsha and I, we help a lot of wholesalers out. And when we, in our JV process, when we're helping them out, that's what we tell them. We'll give them a sheet, and we'll say, hey, when you're talking to the seller, make sure you get these questions answered, book the appointment. Once you book the appointment, just give us a call. And then they'll call, hey Jay, hey Marsha, I have an appointment scheduled for tomorrow. And we'll actually start analyzing the deal and everything with them, and we'll let them know kind of the ballpark range of where they actually need to be before they even go on the appointment. And then when they go on the appointment, now they're a lot more confident because they kind of know where they need to be, where they need to lock it up, so they're going in there kind of equipped. And then after they get the property under contract, then they just kind of come back to us or whatever. We'll partner with them, we'll do a JV assignment, and then we'll bring a buyer for it, and they're learning the whole time as they go. So just, I would say, putting yourself around key people that actually are already doing the business, that are willing to work with you on the deals, that's a great way to learn as well.
Make money while you learn.
Yeah, earn as you learn.
If you throw out the get rid of the ego and get rid of the fear, it'll go a long way. So you can go, if some people get started in the business and they want to fake it till they make it. The best thing to do is go to somebody that's doing a lot of deals and just say, hey, listen, I here's what I'm working on. Here's what I'm willing to do. Here are the resources, because everybody in this room has a unique set of skills and resources that they bring to the table. So you communicate that to who you want to work with, but you have to at first acknowledge, hey, I'm just starting out, and don't try and fake it. The fastest turn off for any of these guys, I'm guessing that and certainly for me, is when someone comes and they're like, oh, they start talking a big game, and anybody that's been in this business for a little bit can just sniff it out right away. And it's not going to help you out. It may be helping your ego in that moment, having that conversation, but it's not going to help you achieve your goal of being able to, make extra money per month, or provide for your family, or financial independence. So.
The question was the background. So myself, I did 12 years in the Army, and I think the Army teaches me so much different tactics, strategics, and how to organize certain things. Now my partner, he brings a different play to the table, so I think it's important to, if you're gonna do this by yourself or a partner or someone you're working with, spouse, or whoever the case may be. But that yin and yang really helps out in our business. But 12 years in the Army doing that, and like I said earlier, we were flipping houses at first. And when we did this wholesale, I heard of it. I've never really done it. I think I Googled it maybe 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and I just did it. Just find the assignment, call somebody, hey, how do you do the assignment? sign the paperwork, read it, send it, and just do it. So I think our first true wholesale deal, I don't know, after 30 minutes of Google and YouTube. And then something like my main man said here, going to someone's office. Going to someone's office and learn. I think anyone here, especially this being the Dallas community, my boy Edwin who's back there is helping out with the Propelio event. He actually came down to San Antonio and asked, hey, can I come in? By all means, and I think he can attest to this, open door policy, come on in. What do you want to know? We actually put him in the dollar system, make calls. He actually got a lead, a corpus deal that we're working with him. So just come in, and I think I'm open to it. I'm sure everyone else up here is open to it as well. Just hustle. Just turn up the hustle.
Love it.
I got. So what do you do right now?
I'm a business analyst for a smaller company. So that's what I do right now. I'm also build sliding block doors on the side. But so business analyst.
Like what do you do? Like, are you on the computer all day, or kind of? So you just look at numbers, or do you talk to anybody?
Also process orders. So someone said order taker, I like taking orders because it's like, hey, done, check. Yes, I'm in the office all day.
Okay. All right. So I think, like you're asking us our background. Like, I come from a very aggressive sales background. Like, I come from door-to-door sales. It's like there's not too many people that's cut out for that. And when I first got started, like, I started laying bandit signs. I think the question that you're asking, I think you're looking for like that one saying or that one thing that's just going to kick you in gear and convince you that this is possible. There's thousands and thousands of success stories out there, and I think the biggest thing that you have to do, man, is you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe that it's possible and that you can do it. And that's what happened for me. It just took one of my close friends to actually do it first, and it just clicked for me. I was like, well, there's no way in hell if I know this person and what he's capable of doing that I can't do this. Like, he's dumb as hell. Like, right? That's literally what happened for me. Like, that's all it took. And then 3-4 weeks later, I got $4,000 and I made it happen. But, the belief is one thing, and then making a decision to do is another thing, and then actually taking action and physically doing it. You know what I mean? So I think you need to find something that you're comfortable with, that you can consistently to work on to get your first deal. And then after that, I think it's going to be downhill from there, just because it just takes one. It's kind of like having sex. Like, you have sex one time, and it's like, boom, I know how to do this now, right? Same thing.
It's so true, though. Once you get the first one out the way, it makes it so much easier.
It's wholesaling, right? You talking about wholesaling?
So for me, okay, so back to the question. So I had we did not have a background in real estate. I'd never heard of wholesaling. My background is in IT project management, and I work for an insurance company. So no background, but my other half here, when he heard about it, he was like had a bone and he wasn't letting go. I did not believe initially, but we took some time. I think I could have been a professional student, where when you go to school, you're taught to learn something, and then you need to take a test. And then in order to take that quiz or the test, that allows you to go forward. This is not like that. You have to literally fail your way to success. And for me, it was getting out of my head and getting comfortable being uncomfortable. That was for me the biggest thing. And I will never forget our very first deal. It just so happened to be an actual investor, and we came with our one-page contract, and he did it just like he flipped it in our face. But we got the deal.
That's awesome.
So, but I was scared. Very scared. I was going to say a curse word, but I was very afraid. But I'm more processed. Like, I feel like I got to go to this step and this step and this step. And he's like, no, let's just go by the, like, you don't need, look, let's just go. So I was out there scared, and I was like, he brought his granddaughter along, and I was just talking. I like talking in person. He's more over the phone, like just say the time or whatever, but I feel like I am better naturally in person, but I've kind of shied away from that because, it's like you always want to say your time, because that's your most valuable commodity. But I would say, to Donovan's point, you gotta do something. And I think one of the best quotes that I heard today from Daniel was saying, when he said that knowledge is not power, knowledge applied is power. So you have to get out of your head and apply what you got to do and learn at the same time.
I love that. So, okay, we got another question, and we've got a bunch online. So, all right.
When you started putting your teams together, how did you figure out the compensation for the different people that are doing the different things, from the acquisition people to how do you break it apart?
That's a great
how to pay them?
Donovan right
For me, when I start, I come from, I have a sales background. Like, I had a marketing company, so how that was designed, I mean, it worked at that company, so I was beta testing different things that worked in real estate. So basically, how I pay my guys now, they make $2,500 base, 5% commission. For dispositions, just 5% commission. Transaction coordinators, they make salary, and then like $100 per closed deal. See what else? I think it's pretty much it. Acquisitions, dispositions, transactions. Cold callers, $3 to $7 an hour, depending on which country. Leadership, it's a little bit different. You know, I pay them a percentage of their team and their organization. So as they continue to bring new people on, recruit people, train people, they make a percentage on their sales. So they get paid a percentage to train. And these are some of the things that work for me at my previous company, and I've seen some other successful people in this industry work for them. So that's what works for me in my business. Now, obviously, there's certain people in my company that get paid a little bit different. Like some guys like all commission, and I'm okay with that. And they make like anywhere from 10 to 12%. And yeah, I mean, you know, it's like when you go to hire somebody, you know, like versus like, can you afford to do it, stuff like that. Anybody can go and hire anybody and pay them all commission. It doesn't cost you anything, to be honest with you. And yeah, so that's kind of what works in my company.
It's all pre-recorded.
So I think it varies on how your company is structured and how well you have their role defined, but I definitely think the short answer to this is make sure that it is merit-based. I personally, like, we've tested it all. I think that I prefer a small base plus commission in most positions in our company. And I think it's also how much you're going to be putting on that person's shoulder, how big your organization is, how just their roles and responsibilities, and making sure you really have those trained well and defined well. As far as structuring their pay, you know, I would personally just make sure that there is something very merit-based within their role. If you are going to pay them full salary for any reason, even like if you are hiring an assistant, an admin, anything like that, we've learned the hard way that things need to be very merit-based. So.
Well, and one other thing about that is if you're asking that, that means you're already doing deals and you're thinking about growing your team, right? So when you get to that point, you've already achieved some kind of metrics. And I love reverse engineering things along these lines, like where do we want to be and how are we going to get there? And then how does that look? You know, a certain percent that your company wants to keep as net profit, right? And so reverse engineer that on each individual deal based off of your KPIs that Daniel gave earlier today. Start keeping those KPIs, and here in the next couple of months, you'll be able to look at it and say, you know, if I want to keep 50% profit or 60% or whatever it is, then you can break that down and reverse engineer it that way on how you pay your people.
You can make sure one of the things that I always struggled with early on was commission positions were not something that I was used to hiring for, even though through college I worked in the restaurant industry. I worked on all commission. But I wasn't really comfortable hiring people and explaining. I had this negative mindset around it. And when you do what RJ said there, it's really easy to show people, hey, if you go to work and you do this, you'll make that money. And it makes it pretty easy to structure it that way.
I think there's no right answer. It's just where you at the company and where you start your first team and how you get there, because it's always fluid on how things work. Now, if you're gonna start a team, the next step is to create a business. If you're wholesaling houses now, some would say that's somewhat what you could call a job. You do one wholesale deal, that's the one time you make that money. But if you want to create a business, you really got to understand, am I doing a 2-man team, a 5-man team, or to a 10-man team? And it's kind of fluid. With us in San Antonio, the majority of everyone's pretty much commission-based, based on the deals that they close. We only have one that's salary, and that's the one that's in the leadership position. And also that includes the commission based on the overall satisfaction of the office closing deals together. But what's more importantly is finding the hustlers to put in that position, knowing, like Donovan said, not everyone's made for that door-to-door sales. Not everyone's made to be that person, like as soon as you say commission-based only, like, if you put someone in salary, I see it could be tough if they're really putting their full effort or they're okay making it base salary or whatever the case may be. But finding that person, be in that position, that's the hard part. Finding the one you really got to get. In San Antonio, we have our boy, his name is Manny Cash. He really goes in there and hustles every day, pushes the others because they have the vision. So.
Good stuff. All right, so Ryan, do you want to start see some of these from online? Or?
Yeah, I got you. I was just giving the preferential treatment to everybody that was here in person.
All right.
One of the questions was, which niche would you say is the most motivated?
Niche list. I think they're asking and that's a question that you can ask, but most people aren't going to necessarily disclose their core lists that they like to market to. But they're basically asking, which lists do you find the best profit out of? That might be a question that people don't want to answer for you.
For us, the ones that actually bring in the home run deals. So we're going to talk about it. Let's provide value. So of course, this is Dallas. It may be different here than San Antonio. The one that brings value to us, the ones we've done multiple six-figure wholesale deals, those come out of tax foreclosures. That's the niche that we have in San Antonio. Now, why the tax foreclosures? It's because if they're in pre-foreclosure for taxes, at that point, if you know they're behind on taxes $25,000, $28,000, 9 times out of 10, all they owe is $28,000, $30,000, whatever the tax says for the county, because most loans nowadays are escrow. So if they're behind on taxes, 9 times out of 10, the mortgage should be free and cleared, and they just owe the property for whatsoever. So that already gauges you when you get there. If you're doing a cash deal for a tax foreclosure and the tax record said these guys owe $28,000, you know that's your starting point. You got to be higher than $28,000, and if they're really motivated, find out what the factor is on why they really want to sell, whatever the reason is. That's the most important part. But for us, and from what I see, is tax foreclosures.
Great one.
I'll give an unpopular answer to that. I don't think it matters, because if you have the appropriate sales skills, when you go in and you locate their pain point and you solve the problem instead of buying a house, you can buy it as deep as you possibly need to. And we've had an array of high profit deals specifically just on wholesaling that come from many different lists. So that's why I sat in silence, because I can't sit here and say, like you did. I mean, that was a damn good answer. But I mean, I wouldn't say that there's a specific list that, hey, this is going to be guaranteed high profit.
Yeah.
Right, you're gonna obviously find the more motivated sellers on per list, on a list of people that are gonna lose their house. I mean, at the end of the day. But I mean, it just depends, how big is your list? Like, how are you pulling it? Are you scraping it? So the list itself doesn't matter. It's how you pull it.
Yeah, I mean, like for my company, it's just like, I mean, we don't really specialize in niche lists just because we have so many cold callers, like we'll saturate one of those lists in like 2 hours, you know what I mean? So that's just being honest. But when we do go into new markets, typically what we do is we go to list source, and this is literally how we open markets. We go into list source, we do market research on where the cash buyers are, and there's multiple pairing of, the criteria. So we do absentee. Our first list that we buy is absentee high equity. Absentee high equity, it means it's high equity, the owner doesn't live there. Another one that a lot of people aren't doing is unknown, the unknown list. Like there's something wrong with the core logic or whatever list source is. that the data isn't always public or whatever, but there is so much data in unknown, and we get a lot of deals from unknown because nobody else is hitting it. You got all these gurus that are telling to like do absentee or whatever. Nobody's telling them to hit unknown, right? So you got all types of those are pretty much those three criteria. That's how we open markets. Is we go in, get that data, and then we start blasting it.
You can probably get that in Propelio now.
So what?
Absentee unknown.
Oh, you can? Yeah. So I mean, yeah, you can get it on Propelio.
I'm just letting you know. So if you wanted to look through that, and just let me know how that looks compared to list source.
Yeah. So I guess to confirm, I thought the question was what niche brings the most value, and that's what I see. But no, like Bates said, and I'm sure everyone up here agrees, there's no specific niche and say if every deal counts, every dollar counts, whether it's a pre-foreclosure or a divorce list or a probate list. A subject to for even the deals that have little to no equity on how to make money on those deals. I mean, no niche per se, but. Coleman?
I know where I got on my side in marketing is I could consistently say if I was doing probates, I can probably pull, 18 deals a year out of probates. If I'm doing foreclosure, I can probably pull 22 out of that one. And then if I was doing water shutoffs, I could probably pull 44 out of that one. And it was one deal source, one marketing channel I could count on a specific volume out of. And if I wanted to increase that volume, I just added other strategies that I can count on multiple volumes from.
We're gonna spend the rest of the time talking about what we've read for the next hour and a half, right? So I probably read, no exaggeration, probably 50, 60 books a year. So there's just a ton of them for me. I'm a big fan. And the question was, because you didn't have the mic, is what is the one book that's been the most influential or that you would recommend a wholesaler read? There's a ton of them, but a great one that maybe some of you haven't read is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. It's a great book on negotiating. So that's the one I'm gonna throw out there. I could keep going on and on, but each you guys.
Real quick, Sell or Be Sold or Traction?
I mean, if you're just getting started and you focus on mindset, a book that really hit good for me was The Magic of Thinking Big. I really, really like that book.
For me, I would say Traction and The Way of the Wolf by Jordan Belfort.
10X Factor. The 10X Factor, Grant Cardone.
Extreme Ownership and the Dichotomy of Leadership.
She's like, I don't read.
Let me think of another book that has a name and get back at you. Get on my Goodreads. Get on my Goodreads app, and I'll send you a few just because I know a little bit about like maybe how to target you on that book list too.
That was a great question, by the way.
All these are great recommendations. I really like the books about ownership probably.
If you read Traction, you got to get it.
Sean Whalen's book is a really quick, good read. I'm not even kidding you. Like that? Oh, sorry. Sean Whalen's book.
You're welcome.
I think, and to be honest, I think personal development isn't really expressed as much as what I would recommend. I mean, honestly, it's just like that has a lot to do. I mean, I could attest to a lot of you guys with a lot of our success. And it's not just reading one book. It's a consistency. It's consistently doing something to feed your brain, especially when you guys start building companies and businesses. These people that work for you or work under you or are on your team or a part of your team, they're on your team so they can learn something. And as you continue to build your brain, you're able to re-energize your team with what you learn. So for me, I love books. I love personal development. I love going to I'm like an event junkie. Like I go to as much as I can, just so I can learn as much as I possibly can, because I'm always growing, and it's because I care about my team. I want them to grow too.
Awesome.
One last thing I was going to say, there's also a lot of great podcasts out there as well. So I know RJ has a great podcast. Cassie gave me that. Yeah, RJ has a really great podcast, but there's a lot of great podcasts out there. And, I think that, one recommendation I would have, for personal development is, so for me, I love to listen to podcasts on my way to appointments because I kind of make it drive time university just to kind of get my mindset into it. I mean, because there's a lot of stuff when you're driving. Driving it can take a lot of time of your day sometimes when you're a real estate investor, just bouncing around doing different things. So to put that positivity and that energy into your mindset, I mean, is just, I mean, it's just wonderful. So I would highly. What's your podcast, RJ?
Titanium Vault.
Hosted by RJ Bates
The third.
If y'all had no money, how would you get started? Oh, sorry.
I hear some D for D.
Driving for dollars, the D for D. That's how we first got started. We, when you are working, we were both working a job. We had so much money, a specific amount of money that we could put towards the business, and it was a lot of sweat equity at first. So we did two things. One, we would drive for dollars, and we do that to this day. When we go on an appointment, we have a goal, and we drive that area that we have the appointment in. And then secondarily, because we're a tag team, we would do some Bonnie and Clyde on Friday nights, have date night and go put out some bandit signs. So I was the driver, and he would go. He had his little, the little muscle gloves that you wear at the gym, and he would just hop out, and, I'll be on the lookout. So bandit signs and driving for dollars for us.
And I always like to attack this question a little bit different. If you're trying to get into this business to spend more money, it's probably not the business for you. And I always like to keep it direct and straight with you guys. It's going to cost money. So you have to look at like your past or kind of like how you got to the point you're at now where you don't have money. And sometimes it's a simple fix, but maybe finding solutions to make a couple $1,000s so you can invest into marketing, like bandit signs or gas money to drive for dollars, because even driving for dollars costs money. It's just like it's a lot easier, in my opinion, and you can get to success a lot faster if you find the solution to just make a couple $1,000s to invest into the business. Versus, obviously sweat equity. Like when I first got started, I would lay bandit signs. I would work from 9 to 9 every day, Monday through Saturday, and then when I get off on Fridays and Saturdays, I would work from 10:30 to like 4 a.m. laying bandit signs every single Friday and Saturday for months, and that's how I got started. That's how I got my first couple deals, and it wasn't that expensive. I used to even go to Walmart, cut the poster boards in half, and lay them out, nail them. Like I would find I would be driving around 6-7 different blocks to find a tree close enough to the street just to nail it, And to be honest, like I don't know a lot of motherfuckers that are able or willing to do that, and that's why a lot of people don't see the success that they want. They aren't willing to do the work. So if there's anybody that can keep it straight with you guys, it is going to cost money, it is going to cost time, and you have to put in the work, because if you don't, you're just going to be sitting on the sidelines watching everybody else win.
I would say the same thing for the most part. Driving for dollars and bandit signs, those really help out. If you really in a tough position and you have the hunger, you have the motivation, you have the hustle, I would say link up with someone who's in your local market and say, hey, what can I provide to you? I'm hungry, I'm motivated, I have the hustle. Teach me. In return, I'll work, I'll be here late, I'll make phone calls. Get that, because that experience sometimes can be more than the value of your first deal.
I agree with that, but I'm going to take driving for dollars a little bit deeper than that, because I think sometimes people think about driving for dollars as I'm driving and I'm trying to find the distressed properties and then I'm going to do some form of marketing. Personally, for me, if I had no money, $0, which this person doesn't have $0 because they're probably on their cell phone or some form of Wi-Fi right now on their cell phone or their laptop watching this. Somehow. So they have money, but let's assume they don't have the $100 to buy Propelio. Go ask somebody for $100 for Propelio, and you're going to then solve someone's pre-foreclosure problem. They give you the pre-foreclosure list. You can go 14 days before the auction dates, and you can go knock on their doors. someone's going to open the door and say, no one has come by to try to solve my problem. How do I know this? We literally just did this 3 days ago. We still do it. New Year's Eve.
You're like, keep it fresh.
When everybody else was getting ready to get drunk and do all that, RJ and Cassi and Dutch, we were in the car with our Propelio list, knocking on doors, and we literally pulled up to a house in one of the hottest zip codes in all of Fort Worth with a pod sitting in the driveway with them moving their stuff. And when Dutch walked up and they said, yeah, we're losing it all. Nope, we're going to get you money. So
you can't tell me everybody's willing to go out there and do that.
and I'm going to sell that deal to Donovan because he's going to overpay for it.
What I'd like everyone in here to see, though, is that every one of these people work in the same market, and every single one of these people are working together in some form or fashion. Like, there is, like I said, the unity in this industry is unlike other industries I've seen. Every one of these people have likely and or will likely in the future do business together. The we not me mindset is critical to getting out of your island. And if you're trying to perform on an island in this business, you're going to be separating yourself from opportunity, separating yourself from knowledge, and separating yourself from great friendships. So, you can see how they're interacting with you. They might mess around and play games, but they all do business together.
Absolutely, and not only that, if I will tell you this much right now, because we were an island when we started, and we stayed an island way longer than I wish we had. Most people that stay in that mindset are not going to make it in this industry. That's just reality. If we didn't have each other, if I had been doing this on my own, I would not have made it in this industry trying to be an island. Just full disclosure.
Yeah, so me being an outsider, being from San Antonio and all. However, the same unity and community like Daniel's talking about, it's the same in San Antonio. The big key players there, you have Quentin Flores, he's down there. You got the Hillco team. We do a lot of work together. We bounce ideas off each other. We visit each other's office. So I think this industry alone, I think you got so many individuals that are up here, San Antonio, wherever the case may be, is willing to just give value and share the we, not me mindset.
I would say also, we're in a very intimate setting, and even for the people who are viewing online, we're all very accessible. I know all these guys are like on social media, and don't be afraid to ask questions and to reach out. We can do business together. I remember, meeting Cassi and RJ for the very first time. I was like, oh, hey, it was just like, at Propelio events, meeting Ryan, meeting Daniel. I mean, it is like, make yourself known and ask the questions. I remember we were at the movies sitting down, and Jay saw Donovan and just walked up, and he was like, hello, but don't be afraid to talk. That's what you're in the business. Don't be afraid to talk to people. Get out and ask some questions.
I got a question.
She's been waiting for a massive minute, man.
All right, looking for advice, I guess. When you're dealing with out-of-state properties, how do you verify your criteria? Do you depend on MLS, or do you have connections in those locations? Like y'all said, you had Airbnbs in Hawaii. Well, I don't know you, but I doubt you flew over there to walk through those two properties. So how do you verify your criteria and make sure that there's no unknown conditions before you sign a contract?
So we actually have boots on the ground in Hawaii. So we actually did fly someone from Oahu to the Big Island to walk that property. But to your point, there are times where, like Mike said earlier, we don't have boots on the ground, and maybe we're talking to a seller, and we'll have the seller send us pictures. There's also companies out there that you can hire that will send pictures. I think we spent like $35 on a St. Louis property where they went out and took pictures like an inspector would. You can have contractors go out and walk the properties for you. You have to have somebody trusted and verified to go out and do that for you. Unless you are strictly wholesaling, you do get good pictures, and then you can send it to your buyers, and then essentially your buyers are verifying it for you. I mean, they're going to be the ones that are taking on the responsibility anyway. So in this case where we're taking down an Airbnb, we had to have somebody go walk it. We will not buy properties any longer without walking them.
So I like to we actually had built multiple remote branches and hired boots on the ground and stuff like that. But if you're not like looking into like get in a market or build a team out in a market, you definitely want to like just hire an inspector. It's worth it if you've done the upfront work right, and it's just a verification. Hire an inspect. Like they have companies like he said that will go. You can send a separate contractor out if you can't find an inspector in a reasonable amount of time. Like we struggle with that in some other markets, but have a contractor go out. And you can find contractors on places like Thumbtack all over the United States. You have the ability to have a company go out and take a picture, but hire an inspector. I mean, it's better than not doing the deal if you're not building out something in that market. I would just make sure, you ask the really good, basically close it on the phone, and it be a verification process from there.
If you are going into a market, you should be familiarizing yourself with the lenders, the local hard money lenders. And those hard money lenders have inspectors that are going out and running out and looking at properties. And I guarantee you, if you call, like here locally, if I know, 4 or 5 guys, if I called them and just said, hey, I need an inspector to go look at a property, that is such a small, they'd be happy to hand that person to you, and it'll cost you. I mean, most inspectors are running looking at those properties. They're doing it for hard money lenders. They'll get on the phone, and for $100, they're doing it for $100. They'll send you pictures. They'll buy all the stuff. So it's really not as difficult as you might think.
Yeah, for the numbers, if you're gonna do out-of-state deals, like I said, we have a few that we're working on. You can use Propelio, for the comps, or you can use different third-party sources to get the comps and do that. And I think there's a website. It's something along the lines of meet me there, or meetforme.com, and you can find a local individual there that would actually go and take the photos for you, send them back to you for like $35 or $40, or have the seller do it for you. So yeah, of course, boots on the ground is very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, long story short, boots on the ground. I mean, for us, I mean, I don't know how you guys' social media presence is, but a lot of times I just post on Instagram. It's like, hey, I need somebody to go take pics for $50, and we can hop on a phone call. I can help you answer whatever questions. I mean, that's what works for me. Sometimes when I'm not in the office and transactions, trying to figure out how to get pictures so we can display a property, they're uploading ads on Facebook and Craigslist. Like when we open a market, for example, we're posting ads everywhere, like Facebook, Craigslist, because we're looking for boots, and not just one person, but multiple people, so they can handle that type of appointment when it comes up.
A lot of times people do that with us too, because they'll know like we have a pretty strong foothold in many markets across the nation. They'll be like, hey, do you have anybody in this? And I'm like, oh, I don't, but like I know somebody who will.
So I have a quick question. I know the industry is romanticized, like it's real easy. Can you tell us a little bit about the difficulty, the work ethic, what is needed to be able to perform and succeed in the industry?
So there's a thing.
Pass it around.
Sorry, I'll jump in real quick.
Yeah.
Jump in real quick. So I think what people confuse a lot is easy and simple. So I think this business is very simple, but I don't think it's easy. I think it's something that takes a lot of hard work, and I think it takes everything from being willing to start off with something new, be wrong, look like an idiot, do something that's outside of your comfort zone, work late. I mean, I remember when you talk about bandit sign stories. Like I remember, like the only time I got that spend with my daughter when she was 2 years old was she was sitting in the car seat and I was driving around at night putting out bandit signs. And so there are so many factors adding the skill set. And so I think that's just something that you have to be willing to do. You have to be willing to, if you want a big change in your life. I mean, if you have $0, we had that question about no money in the bank. You really have to look at, why do you have no money in the bank? Is it that you don't have the skill set? Is it that you don't have the work ethic, that you're doing it? Have you had hard times? Have you what mistakes have you made? So I think it is something that is tough, and you have to sorry, you have to So we can switch. No. So it's something that's very difficult. I think it's very attainable. You've got all sorts of skill set, all sorts of backgrounds that come into this. People that have construction, people that have financial services, IT, and so you can do it. It does take dedication. Like there's a story from one of my mentors, and he talks about how he went out there and he had this great paying job, and he wanted to be able to retire. He wanted the cash flow. And so he got there and he had all this cash flow. And so one of his friends said, "Hey, I want to sit down and I want to do this. How do I do this?" And he explains it. And I said, "Well, I want what you've got, what you've accomplished, but I only want to do about a third of what you just described. The other 2/3 just does not sound like something I want to do. And you have to be willing to do all of it." And just, yeah, so that's.
So, this could be easy, right? I mean, everyone who's here on a Friday, everyone's going to be here tomorrow on a Saturday. That tells me that you have the fortitude, you have the entrepreneurial mindset, you have the hustler mentality to make something happen in real estate, wholesaling, whatever the case may be. And you talked about how to get that drive or how to get the dedication. Keeping accountable for one another, like we have in our team. We have this thing called Turn Up the Hustle. And Edwin, can you pull out your phone real quick, man? What does that say? Turn up the hustle. Right? On his phone, something to remind you at all times. Someone tells my boy, "Hey man, get it. You didn't close a deal this month, whatever the case may be. You're still learning. You haven't got to that point where you want to be at. Turning up the hustle. Something to remind you, like, man, I see the bigger picture. Let me turn up the hustle and let me move forward to it." Reminder: keep your accountabilities from your boys, from whoever the case may be.
And I was going to say, so for me, I think that just knowing ahead of time that the wholesaling in itself, like they were saying, is very simple. The challenge is making it an actual business, because there's so much that goes with that, and it's an emotional roller coaster at times, and it's like you're gonna have like your really really great months, but then you're gonna kind of have those months that suck a little bit, and then you're gonna have those months that are great. So you have to understand that mentally you have to come to terms with, what, everything is not gonna always go the way that I plan it to go, but I need to know also how to make lemonade out of a lemon. And you have to kind of have that mentality, because straight up, seriously, honestly, guys, it is not going to be easy. And there's going to be a lot of times where it's just going to absolutely suck. But you have to just hang in there and you have to keep on pushing. And again, it's going to be an emotional roller coaster, and you have to be okay with that. If you are not okay with that, if you're not comfortable with being uncomfortable, it's not for you. It's not for you. But if you're willing to be uncomfortable and grow and just really position yourself and your family for abundance, then it is something for you. But you have to understand that there's going to be blows that come along the way, and you got to be willing to deal with that. But the great thing is, that's why there's so many great books out here. That's why there's so many great mentors out here. That's why there's so many great people out here. All of these guys have been through something. That's what makes them great at what they do. That's why they have success, because they've overcame a lot of obstacles. So just understand that there's going to be obstacles, and just know that ahead of time. But just have the mentality that you're going to overcome that obstacle.
So, go ahead.
I was going to say that Jay has this phrase that he says to me sometimes, and he'll say that he's willing to stand on an island by himself. You have to have a why. And whatever that why is for you, you have to be willing to stand on an island and push through, because it's going to be a very lonely journey. Because most people are going to look at you like you're crazy. They're going to think you're insane because you're immersing yourself in something that they don't understand. Most people are not entrepreneurs. They're employees. So if you start thinking outside the box and doing something different, they're going to be looking at you like you're crazy. But you have to be willing to be consistent and keep sowing the seeds. And when you're sowing the seeds, you never know when the harvest is going to come. You never know how much of the harvest is going to come. But you have to keep sowing the seeds. So I would just encourage you to be willing to stand on that island by yourself and stand on what your why is. Why are you doing that? That hustle will come. If you have it internally, you're going to hustle for you, because you're doing it for something better. we're unemployable right now. I'm never going to work for somebody else. Even, I mean, it is, you know, you may take some blows. I just had one of the hardest deals that I closed. I mean, I shed a few tears because I was just like, I can't be this stupid. And sometimes when you're failing, especially when you're failing in front of your partner, even though they may not be looking at you, but you're failing in front of somebody else and you're not producing. And you have to keep pushing, you have to keep sowing. And that is hard.
So, the way you worded that question at the beginning, I want to touch base on that. How I think you said this is romanticized, right? Um, that's that's 2019, 2020. That's the world we live in, right? I've never seen an industry that you can become more quote unquote famous for not really doing a whole lot. I broke this down to Dutch the other day. We were going through our goals for 2020, and I showed him how simple it is to have a 6-figure month. And no, just a 6-figure month as a company, okay, wholesaling only. And he looked at me and he goes, "It's that simple?" I said, "Right. Think about how many people have built massive platforms and these groups and this following on this 6-figure, $100,000 a month wholesaling, right? And in all reality, it's really not doing a whole lot, right? And when you achieve that level, like a lot of these people have said, wholesaling at some point in time, you have to stop doing a job and you have to start building a business, and it can become very lonely. And you could feel even more lonely when the whole world tells you how great you are. I'll never forget one of the times we went to, I think it was probably the first Propelio event, and I was literally freaked out. I had no, I'm not even joking, probably 6 to 8 people come up and stroke my beard, like weirdo style, like, "Oh, you're RJ Bates." And I'm like, that's effing weird, dude. Like, I don't know what's happening right now. And then everybody told us how great Titanium Investments was. And I'll never forget, open bar, slightly tipsy after we were leaving. I looked at Cassi and I said, "Apparently we run a perfect business. We better get to work and figure out how we're going to run this perfect business because everybody thinks we are." And that's kind of the world that we live in. So for anybody, if you feel that way, just understand that that's just kind of the world that we live in, and you have to ignore that noise, unplug from it, and just get out there and focus on doing the work and not worried about likes and comments and shares and things like that go to your head and make you think that you're doing something that you're really not. Because to be quite frank, I've said this, and this might be something that I continue saying, I've yet to talk to anyone in the real estate investing industry that I think has done anything worthwhile and compared to other people in other industries. And I think Daniel and I, we've had conversations about that where we have not done anything yet to date that has changed the world. But yet people come to us and they talk to us like we're doing something amazing. And it's like, dude, all we've done so far is fail. Like, give us some time, give us some traction. We've only been at this for 5 years. Daniel, how long have you been doing this? 12 years. Think about that. Like, for some people, 12 years, I mean, they're just now getting started. I mean, Tom Brady was just starting to get on his, 4th, 5th, 6th Super Bowls by that point.
Oh, God, you always have to find a way to bring old Brady into it. I will say this. I'm going to go a little bit, like, off course there. I think that when you're first starting wholesaling and when you first become an entrepreneur, especially if you don't have a team, it's very easy to feel like the world is on your shoulders, right? Like, because you're not used to everything depending on the results come directly from your single actions, your actions every day. So I would actually go with the note of I am obsessed with real estate because it's a very lucrative industry. And so there are parts of it that I feel they're romanticized that aren't romanticized. I mean, it's accurate. Real estate it changed our lives completely. We're obsessed with it. However, whenever it comes to people, what they don't talk about is that if you can master yourself and master your time and master a process, even if you're just by yourself, it's a formula. I heard Daniel say that earlier. It's a formula. If you can break down how many appointments you have to go on, if you can break down how many people you have to call or text or knock on their door, it's a formula. All you have to do is master yourself and master your mind and master how you react when you come up against a challenge. It's a challenge. We all have gone through them, or we wouldn't be sitting up here. RJ calls it failing forward. We failed forward a lot. We've taken a lot of imperfect, massive action. So really, it's how you respond and mastering yourself and realize you're going to come up against challenges, but also that you have like a security blanket that we didn't have when we started. And everybody talks about reaching out, call people. You can JV; they'll help you walk through. But the reality of it is, you have resources online too, like the podcasts and books and things like that. I've met a lot of really incredible people who said, "Man, I wanted to approach you 6 months ago just to ask you this question." I'm like, "Why didn't you? Like, you may not have had my phone number, but shoot me a message on social media. I might not respond right away, but I'll take me 10 seconds. I mean, I'm on the darn thing anyways. I might as well be productive or helpful." Because if we didn't have people to ask questions to, we would not still be here. And so I say, just master the fact that you're going to have to just know yourself and learn how to come up against those challenges. And the whole world isn't on your shoulders. It's one deal. It's 2 deals. It's however many deals. You just find a way to help the seller. Find a way to help the property. Find a way to help your buyer. That's all it is.
Damn good answer. That was good. That was good. I always say this, guys, is things are never gonna happen when you want them to happen. Things happen when they're supposed to happen. And that, I mean, I'm young, I understand, but like I've experienced some things in my life where it's just like, why am I here? Like, has anybody like faced a problem where it's just like, man, this fucking sucks? Anybody? Right? Or like with your regular job or whatever you guys are doing now, it sucks. Like it's terrible sometimes, But the cool thing about, especially in this business in real estate, um, once you overcome a problem, you know how to do it the next time and the time after that and the time after that. So a lot of people get frustrated when they first get started because they're seeing these challenges and these problems and they're just stopping and going away. When the reality of it is, you gotta start leaping over these challenges, because you guys gotta, like, those challenges that you're facing in real estate is what's gonna pay you in the future. Does that make sense? Unless you guys are overcoming challenges, you guys are never gonna see success. Because if it was so easy, everybody would be doing it. I mean, that's probably why there's so many wholesalers doing it, because it's not that difficult if you actually put in the work and stay consistent, right? But I mean, the reality of it is, like, I mean, if you look at, like, you guys, anybody in here have a pet? Okay, nobody has pets. I guess everybody hates pets. All right, so you see a turd on the ground. How much is it gonna, like? How much would you be willing to get paid to eat that turd? Like, seriously, ask yourself that question. There is a dollar amount. Even for me, there's a fucking, like, if there's shit on the ground, let's negotiate, right?
What's the dollar amount?
What is the dollar amount?
What is the dollar amount?
We're not going to get there right now because I'm the one asking the question, RJ.
Because I could bring a turd tomorrow and see.
Like, seriously, like they always say eat shit, but what would you be willing to go through to have the success that you deserve? What type of work do you have to put in to make it happen? How much work and how much time and how many challenges do you have to overcome to actually push through to make it happen? And then when you actually get there, you're going to look back, just like we're kind of telling you guys, is like, man, that's why they always say it's easy, but it's not, because you've already pushed through it. Does that make sense? So I always recommend you got to keep pushing, stay consistent. And I keep saying that like, consistency is everything. Consistency is staying power. Like, if you view this first row of chairs, and by the way, there's nobody but this guy in the first row, but if you filled the seat enough times, somebody's gonna fucking buy. Somebody's gonna sell. You just gotta put the people in. Like, you literally have to go through the motions to make it happen. You have to put in the efforts to see it's a numbers game. Long story short, does that make sense? You have to find your number. You have to find your number in that niche, kind of like what Cassi was saying. You have to have data, because once you have data, that's when you start to feel a little bit better. Like last year, I was doing KPIs, and I'm like, man, our guys don't suck. They're just lazy. It's crazy. Like I went to the sales floor. I'm like, hey, congratulations. None of you guys actually suck. You guys just need to hop on the phones a little bit more, and you can literally track every single appointment and figure out how many appointments that you have to go on to get a deal. You have to track how many calls you have to take in order to get a deal. You have to go through how many contracts and offers you sent out before you get a deal. And by God, like I promise, when you guys have 10 deals under your belt, you're gonna look back and track those numbers. It's like, man, I'm gonna eat shit on the ground 7, 8 times, and then boom, I got paid, right? And then you're gonna feel excited every time you face these challenges. It's like, cool, there's 10 other people in the house. How many other times did this happen, and how many times did I win? Does that make sense? And then you start making yourself better, and you can constantly improve yourself over and over and over and over again. But you're never gonna get there if you just quit. Basically everything I said is just gonna go to shit if you don't actually do something. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents.
A lot of turds, man.
We got another question, so.
Yeah, so I have been actually downloading Propelio lead list for 2 solid months. You plotting the data into a map and then using it and hitting these doors religiously for 2 months, and it's lonely. It is, you gotta, if you have to have someone around you all the time doing stuff, you need to know that it's going to be lonely when you're hitting that car and it gets so dark that you're using the map to find houses because you can't even see. Or you come home and now your dinner's cold. So just be prepared for that, because it's a real deal. So that might be the first thing that's going to stop you from pushing forward. But if you can push through that, like everything else is going to be like easy. And I did get a contract signed yesterday, so I got 2 more.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
I got 2 more folks calling me. So my question was, I need to be more effective when I'm knocking on that door. I'd love to hear your best pitches for a foreclosure list, probate list, and just a straight your house is ugly as all get out list. Can you give me your 3 best pitches when you're not cold knocking on a door?
Hey, I'm RJ. I'm here to buy your house because you're in pre-foreclosure, and I want to solve that problem for you. It's real simple. And honestly, we changed that up because we used to do the more professional ones. And then what I realized is if I'm not open and honest about what I'm here for, how are they going to be open and honest with me? So when I say your house is in pre-foreclosure and I want to solve that problem for you, it's amazing how many times they just open up and they're like, all right, yeah, let's talk about it. So my wife, she got in a car crash and she broke her leg, and then we don't have the disability, and so that's why we're in pre-foreclosure. And so it's like, holy cow, I just learned everything. So that's why we started going with that.
I say that, but he really does. He cuts to the chase like nobody else I've ever seen. And so I don't necessarily, if you're not ready for that or that doesn't suit your personality, that might not work for you. I've never seen it work for anybody like it does for this fool, but I'm serious. I could not do that. Like I get to the point way quicker than I used to. I used to try to church it up real big, but I tend to go with more like I get to why I'm there. Whether it be like you came across our marketing channel for this, we're out here. I use a lot of we're doing a house down the street. We noticed you have, weeds up to your roof. Are you guys struggling? We're looking for another property. I just cut to the chase and let it be authentic to you, because if you're stammering through, like I used to do that all the time. I'm a talker. It takes me 3 times as long to say something than it does to him. When I try to sound like him, it doesn't work. So that's my.
Stop throwing water on that guy.
It's his personality. I don't know.
Are you saying I intimidate them into selling out?
I was in the door-to-door B2B business since I was like 18 up until like 2 years ago. But And we sold all types of products, you know, from energy to water bottle, like whatever, name it, we probably sold it, right? But when we were going in and training our sales teams and especially training our managers, I think the biggest thing that you have to understand, it's not about the product, because I mean, real estate is sexy, right? You guys are all here because you guys think it's sexy, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's not. You know, it's just another product. That's all it is. It's just a higher ticket product. And it's cool looking. You see it on TV shows, and you see how lucrative it is. And a lot of people forget that it is a product, and just like you sell anything else. Like, have you ever sold anything other than real estate before? Or? Okay, cool. Well, I mean, great. So, entry level sales guy, right? So the conversation that you have to understand that when you're first approaching somebody is not about the house. It is not about whatever you're selling, even if you decide to go sell something else. It's about that person. And one of the easiest ways to be able to connect with that person, to be able to have them at least listen to you, is you have to be able to connect with that person. That's the first and foremost thing. The second thing is, it's going to be a lot easier for you to connect with that person if you can connect with that person emotionally, right? Did anybody laugh at my dumbass jokes? Right? So a way I can connect with you guys. That's the easiest way you're going to be able to get somebody to at least listen to you, is you're able to connect with that person emotionally. So as soon as they open up the door, what's the first thing that you need to do is you need to figure out how to find common ground and make them laugh in the first 90 seconds. That has to be the absolute thing that you're doing as soon as they open up the door, is figuring out a way to make that person laugh. And I am not a funny guy. I had to just off survival mode, I had to find out what makes other people laugh and what's funny to them to be able to connect with people emotionally. Does that make sense? And I remember when I was in the field, like, if I didn't make that person laugh, the chances of me closing that person dropped significantly, right? And I even use this method when, like, closing people in the field. I remember when I first started dating my girl, we used to go in the field and drive, and people would be losing their house and all types of shitty situations. And I was like, look, here's the goal. I'm going to make them laugh. I'm going to make them feel super on top of the world. And then I'm going to make them cry. And I would literally be in the living room crying with them. Straight up. Like, literally crying with these people. Like, they're in really shitty situations. And I am good enough now. I've overcame all the challenges where I can help that person. And now we're going to laugh. Now we're going to have a good time. Now we're going to be kicking beers back with each other, and you're going to be wiping your tears at signing this fucking contract. That makes sense? So you have to find a way to connect with people emotionally. And that's my biggest advice. And you could be the worst salesperson in the world. You can be the best salesperson in the world. But the easiest way to get the sale at least listened to is by being able to connect with them emotionally.
So the emotion is very important, right? If someone's in pre-foreclosure or probate, whatever the case may be, I mean, if you have that character like Bates is, we're just straight to the point. If that works for you, obviously it works for him and his team. Depending on your type of character, your type of personality, a good word that we like to use is fine. You know, instead of telling someone, hey, your property's in pre-foreclosure, what's up? Versus, hey, we find that your property we find that your property's in the pre-foreclosure, or it may find itself in the pre-foreclosure list. But you say you got a contract yesterday? What type of deal was that one? In a pre-foreclosure, what type of lead was it?
Oh no, it was a house that wasn't pre-foreclosure, but she ended up having a whole different house. Absentee. Yeah, she couldn't live in it anymore.
Okay. Have you done pre-foreclosure knocking on doors as well?
Oh yeah.
What's the pitch you use?
My pitch. So you probably know that this house is on a publicly available list of about being in foreclosure. I'm just wondering if anyone has explained your option.
That works. Works.
You go in with what Donnie said, because most of what everything in life is it being able to evoke emotion, and connect with people through that. Even if you're not using laughter, it really is. If you can get them to, if you can evoke any kind of emotion in them, maybe you're right. Maybe RJ's just so intimidating. They're back there like, okay, what did I do? What do I need to do? But it's just like going back to it, like just be authentic. Like that is a great opening sentence. It just, however it makes sense coming from you that fits you, and then get into the connect with them, evoke emotion. Like I'm really big on, I try to help. I'm just here to help. I'm really here to help, no matter what kind of lead it is.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the one you had is perfect. You know, I mean, if you can go with someone, if you like, Donovan said, if you're an entry level sale, if you can go with someone else. Like back in the day when me and Charles used to knock on a door. Charles has quite a few years than I do, so depending on who that individual is, he can kind of sense something out that I didn't sense out. Vice versa, he probably build a better rapport with him than myself. If it's tattoos, right? If the gentleman has tattoos, probably be more comfortable with me. Another thing is San Antonio, they speak Spanish a lot, right? And unfortunately, I don't speak Spanish, right? Ain't that crazy? Yeah. So the guy that goes with me back in the day was Charles, and he would speak Spanish. So just things like that. How can you take that to the next level? And but the pitch that you had, man, was perfect.
What about foreclosure? I mean, not sorry, probates and former substitute trustees. I mean, probates and affidavit airships. What's your pitch for those?
Well, the affidavit airships, I mean, it's the same thing as a probate. If it's a loss, right? Someone's family lost. I mean, the same thing we just said applies to pre-foreclosure. It's a sensitive subject. Someone lost. Now, sometimes I've seen some crazy stuff, man, where the person who passed away, the executor or the heir for the estate did not get along with that individual. And I've actually had someone say, "Hey, you can have it." Straight up, you can have it. I didn't like the person. It was the uncle. Unfortunately, the uncle and the niece, had bad relationship growing up. If you can read between the lines, and straight up, you can actually have the house. I think the contract was for like $1,000, and it was a true house, full blown house. So.
Are you knocking on
Yeah.
probates?
Probates, affidavits,
I would
airships,
pretend.
yeah.
I would
It's-
pretend I didn't know. Honest to God, I
Yeah.
would pretend I didn't know. I would just say you came across our marketing channels, or I think it was in our vacant property list. You're on my list to let you know I'm here to help with any of your real estate needs. Because I've had people on probates. So like we don't really do a lot of probate anymore, but I've had people on probates get really upset, and like that breaks my heart because like. Death is, it affects different relationships. They affect different people differently, and so straight up, I'd just pretend I didn't know.
Yeah,
That's me.
it's a sensitive subject for sure.
My input on that side, because I did do a lot of probate marketing, is I personally, I don't think I'd have the balls to go door knock probates. Like door knocking for pre-foreclosures is bad enough, but I don't think I could door knock probates. But what I found doing probates is I had two windows that were the most effective for me. The first 2 weeks after the probate filing was done, there were but there was a sect of that group that were just like, I want it done. Like, I want this done. I don't want to deal with it anymore. Get it gone and go. And that was probably only maybe about 10% of the people. Like, it was a smaller majority of the people. The rest of them had to deal with everything else going on in their life. They had to deal with the emotions. And most of those started selling at like the 4 to 6 month mark. So what I found for myself on the probate marketing side is I would get my marketing out ASAP day one, super fast, and hit them with a really quick follow-up campaign. Like hit them like 5 or 6 times within 2 weeks. That would be market number one. And then I would follow that one up from that day moving forward with a monthly market, and then I'd start ticking that marketing back up at around months 4 and 6. So I would do, let's say, 5 or 6 pieces within the first 2 weeks, and then a monthly piece from that point forward. And then once I hit months 4 through 6, I would tick it up to like 2 or 3 pieces a month. Because what I found is most of the times around 4 to 6 months is when it started picking back up to about month 8 is where I'd start really picking up the rest of the probates. So I would, as I started getting towards the ends, I started upticking my cold calling of the probates. I would never cold call the initial probates, but after month 4, the initial sting I believe was fairly well dealt with, and then from months 4 on, I'd start adding in the cold calling set point, and I would just come in from the approach, not even of like, hey, I know this is a deceased owner's property. I just come in and say, hey, I'm interested in purchasing properties in this neighborhood. I saw this one hit my list. Would you be interested in selling it? And I just boom, 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 boom.
So, I mean, kind of what works for probate for us is like, I mean, somebody is always dying, you have to be able to connect with that person and think about like somebody in your life that died, and I talk about it. Like I was talking to a lady today, and she had a piece of land, and she was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like she was heartbroken that her husband died. And I'm like, heartbroken because my grandma died, and I understand where they're coming from. And it's not like I'm like being sleazy, but like you have to come to senses and being able to like connect with that person where they're currently at. Because if you just go in from like that greedy approach where it's just like, hey, somebody died, give me all your shit, they're gonna sense that out pretty quick. You know what I mean? But if you go in, it's just like, hey, I literally understand because I experienced that, you know, and really just listen, and you'd be surprised, man. People just want to talk. People just want to be able to let their emotions out, and for somebody to be there. And just by if you're that guy that's there more than anybody else, chances are you have a higher chance of success. I mean, to be honest, I definitely get a lot of referrals, but I mean, it's just really hard to, like, I'm a KPI guy. Like, I look at metrics and math and stuff like that. And referrals is kind of like free money. You know, when it comes in, I see it as like bonus money. You know, it's like, oh, let's go rent some cars or take a bougie vacation to somewhere, you know, with referral money. So that's why I buy from wholesalers.
All right. Any other questions coming in?
I got this little short question. I have a short question regarding driving for dollars. I'm probably going to go back. What's the best way for skip tracing?
So,
I used to drive for dollars like 8 months ago, and I'll get like 50 houses, and it would take me like a whole day just to get the whole data. You know, like to search for the owner's name and then look for the phone number. It would take me like a whole day just to get 50 houses. So, like, what's like a best way to get all the information? Yeah.
the audience wants to answer it.
So with the Propelio app, you can actually skip trace right there on your phone. Hit the button, and it'll dial the number right on your phone.
Mobile Driving for Dollars app. You're driving down the road. Yeah, it just released about 2-3 months ago. So you just driving down the road. It tracks your drives, so you know where you've been in the neighborhood. And if you see a property, you just tap on it, and it'll pull up the owner's information, tax rolls information, and then from there you can take a choice of, do I want to send direct mail? If you want to send direct mail, you click it, it automatically sends it out. And if you want to skip trace it, you click that, it'll automatically pull the data. The data comes through batch skip trace or skip genie, depending upon which service you choose. And when that data comes back in, you can cold call it right there.
Got those for you. Get an app that has a caller ID app, and as the phone numbers are dead or disconnected, change that caller ID to disconnected. So that way you'll see that you've dialed it before in the past.
Okay.
Because if you don't have a CRM to track all these calls and the 17th time you've called, there's apps like Call App, and it'll help you track the number of times you've dialed it. But if you change the caller ID to disconnected every time, you'll know not to dial it again when it shows up in your caller ID. That's something to kind of I figured out, kind of try to hustle and save some money.
2 to 3 days just to do the whole data, man. Like,
Right.
Appreciate it.
Got a question?
We have one more.
Hi. Oh, was it you? No, you're good. No. Oh, it wasn't me? Okay. So how do I'm really very interested in working with wholesalers to source my my projects, my flips. And what is the best way to collaborate with you? Because in the past, and I'm a very new investor, I started last year, but on 3 of the deals that I did with wholesalers, once I got into the foundation repairs, then I had the plumbing issues under the foundation, and that ate my profit. And while the wholesaler probably did a double-digit profit, mine was in the single digits. I made 8,000-9,000 on one house, and another just 4. So how can I collaborate to get, to negotiate better? Like, how do you work with somebody like me who's interested in the buy and hold or the fix and flip, where I can actually do better on my deals?
So to answer a couple of those questions, 1, get better at doing due diligence. 2, find somebody you can trust that runs their. I mean, straight up, when we first started wholesaling, probably the first couple years, we send ours out. Nobody does this. We send ours out with full rehab budgets. Like we would tell you, it's gonna cost you $4,000 on your foundation. It's gonna cost you this much to do your roof, just to prove a point. Like our repair numbers were gonna be very close, and then we built very good rapport with our buyers list. You want to get in with a wholesaler that you can trust like that. Ask the right questions would be what I would say. Know your criteria, know what you're looking for, know how you're like run your numbers, like run what it's going to cost. So many people don't run their holding costs. Like I don't know what your holding cost is. I'm making an assumption when I'm wholesaling a property, but I also flip houses. I also have a ton of rental properties. I also, you know what I mean? So I guess just know what you're trying to achieve and ask for those properties.
So I would say clarify responsibilities and what roles you're looking for. If you're looking for your wholesaler to be your contractor, your mentor, your lender, if you're looking for them to fulfill lots of roles, maybe you need to take a step back and look and say, hey, I'm looking for a wholesaler. When I look for a wholesaler, I'm looking for wholesalers to find me a deal that's under contract that I can purchase, that I know will close, that there's not some sort of scam for earnest money, that they're taking the earnest money and running from it. I'm not looking for the wholesaler for a description of, is my rehab budget going to be $20,000 or $25,000? And when I first got into the business, I really had an issue with wholesalers sending out rehab budgets, and the rehab budgets would say $25,000. And I knew for certain that rehab budget was a $35,000 rehab budget, and because I would get a bid for it, and so for a long time I just had the biggest issue with it. And what I've come to learn over time is that everybody has different resources. So she may be able to get a rehab budget down. That 25 that she's sending out for 25, she may be getting that done for 15. Someone sending a deal out and for 35, they may be able to get that done for 25. And so it really comes down to that personal responsibility. If you as an investor are buying from a wholesaler, you need to be able to look at it and do your due diligence. And all comps, this goes for the rehab budget, this goes for the comps. The type of finish out that you're going to do for that property, if you say 135 or 150 or 200, that is a possibility for the submarket. That is not depending on if you go in. I had a borrower once, and they did a deal. They bought it from the wholesaler, and I was working with them. I worked closely with the wholesaler. We got the deal done. We did the appraisal. They purchased the house. They go in and they decide, for the flooring, I'm going to go in. I'm going to get the discard from Seconds and Surplus, and I'm going to use. And they use, I kid you not, 5 different types of tile throughout that house. So, did they put in new tile throughout? Did they put in new carpet throughout? Absolutely. Was it the equivalent of? And I'm going to be completely sexist here. Was it the equivalent? A bachelor goes in. A guy goes in and says, "Oh, I'm gonna go pick out all the colors, and I'm gonna go pick out all the items for it," and does a horrible job. That's the difference between interior decorator coming in and putting in the same items, same quality of items, but selecting it properly. And so I think that it just kind of comes back to knowing what you're looking for the wholesaler to do. And so now some wholesalers have different skills and expertise. So everybody sitting up here, some of us have done 150,000. I think Daniel, you did a crazy large rehab. I personally have never done a huge rehab. So if I look at it, if I can get a deal under contract that's going to need 150,000, but I've not done a $150,000 deal. Now I can turn around to a builder buddy that has done it, and I can say, hey, this is approximately, using rules of thumb, what I think it's going to be, but he's going to be the one that knows everything that needs to go into that submarket. So I in that question, I would just say, take a step back and say, hey, what do I want the wholesaler to do? If I'm looking to work with a wholesaler, what is it I'm trying to get from that wholesaler? And is one of those things, if it's the rehab budget, if it's the comps, if it's all that, maybe they're looking at it from their lens. I need to look at it and say, okay, maybe I need to get a contractor or a couple of contractors to take a look at it and form a good relationship there.
I'd like to add some.
Many things went wrong. You know, it's like I got the CMA were higher. I talked to a realtor, and I knew they were lower. But when we fixed the foundation, all the cast iron under was broken, and that was something I'd never done. I was new. I didn't know how much it cost. It was $8,000. It extended my timeline by a couple of weeks because it then rained and it filled the house with water. So fast forward, but it wasn't that I wanted to do the big cosmetic rehab. It was a house from Carrollton. But by the time that I tried to get to the nice stuff, I was out of money and I was out of time and I was new at this. So it's not that I was looking for the wholesaler to do that, but like, what do you? I don't know. Like
I got you. I can help you. Okay.
Okay, please.
Okay. So I think I know what you want. How many emails a day do you get from wholesalers? Several, like 4 or 5.
Like 8 to 10.
Okay, so I get like a couple hundred a day just in DFW. A couple hundred. Yes. There's hundreds of us that wholesale, okay? You don't walk into Walmart and say, Walmart, tell me what I want to buy. You go into Walmart and you pick what you want, right? So you need to be on more wholesalers' lists and then get very picky about what you want to buy. You know what you want to buy. Right now, I will not buy anything over $250,000 ARV. Okay, I'm only going to buy a brick house. I only want 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. I don't care how good of a deal it is. This is what I'm going to buy. I'm not going to buy in Dallas. I don't want to drive all the way over here. So you know exactly what you want, and when that comes, you go look at it and stop buying houses with foundation problems.
To further that also, I think that it's really important that you understand from a wholesaler's perspective. I thought you brought up a very good point in that he used to get mad when people would put out a $25,000 repair budget. It's an estimate. So my point being, you can give me a $250,000 ARV house, and it depends on what that wholesaler, their perspective, what did they comp that to? What was their blueprint property that said, if you take this house to point A all the way over to this blueprint house, point Z, then you can get this on the market. That's all they're saying. But you could also do a little bit less work, list that house for $235 and potentially make more money. So when I say know how to run your numbers, you'll probably have less days on market. There's so many different factors that you can do here, and maybe play it a little bit safer so that you're not worried about having to do this insane remodel. Like get a few under your belt where you just gotta go in and do some paint and some carpet and some granite and some tile and be done with it, right? We went into some insane remodels in our career, and I mean, it's not for the weak. So I sympathize with you there, but really build out your buy box and recognize that I can pull comps in my sleep. I can see this house being worth $250,000, but what you go and do to it, it might only be worth $235,000, and that actually might have been the best strategy. A lot of people over rehab when they're new flippers. They'll go in and they're like, oh, I'm gonna make this, and there's a lot of ways to skin a cat. So just know, what you need to do to achieve your end goal, and look at each project and have a map for that project, a roadmap for it, and that will really turn it around. And your wholesalers, all of them will send, like every wholesaler I know will send you a good property. They might send one that doesn't fit you too.
I think that was a great question from a flipping standpoint. If we're here to talk about wholesales and you guys want to get into the wholesale business, understand the frustration of what an end buyer goes through is the first thing. Understand, as a flipper, let's not have a wholesaler have a bad name to the industry, as it could be so easy to do so. Of course, it's the end buyer's job to do the due diligence. But for most wholesalers, and especially if they're starting off, I think most wholesalers haven't done a flip before. So that's something to think about if you want to start maybe interviewing some of the wholesalers you're working with. Of course, I would suggest everyone up here get on their buyers list because they're reputable, right? They're reputable, they're doing deals. Daniel has them up here on the Propelio show. So he has, whatever you want to call it, the approval of these individuals. But as a wholesaler, take that standpoint and understand, me as a wholesaler, that's who I need to deal with. Me as a wholesaler that's never done a flip, let me understand the flipper's point of view. Us flipping houses, whether you're using hard money, private money, or cash, what is holding costs as a wholesaler? If I know ARV is 100 grand and rehab's this, I want to sell for this amount. But understand holding costs, private lender, hard money lenders charging points, right? Appraisals, the FHA 90-day rule. As a wholesaler, understand that verbiage, like Daniel said. If you don't know it, go to Google, understand, or go to a mentor, someone who's here local, understand what the flipper wants to do. Understand what the landlord is looking at. What's the 1% rent rule? Understand how does it pertain to him. Be a good wholesaler where you'll always get a repeat buyer that will always buy at all times. And that's more important than having one bad wholesaler.
Well, that's your customer, right? I mean, without them, you have no company.
So
there is some thought processes to look at beyond that, and there are some very large wholesale houses that their entire business model is on that you're a one-time customer model. Their goal is to extract as much equity out of the middle of that deal as possible. They'll get the deal under a contract as low as they possibly can get it, and their goal is to sell that contract for as much as they can get it. So they have no problems with working with your ignorance. So that is common. Another thing to look at beyond that was for this being your first venture, the simple fact that you made money on both is something that most people don't do on their first venture. Many people going out on their first venture, especially going into rehabs, they lose out because they are not aware of those problems. And now that you've done this, you've kind of got paid to get your experience. You've gotten some paid experience off of both of these properties that should make you better at your due diligence, make you better at your conversations with the wholesalers. And I look at it as a positive experience. Like you went through 2 deals that you made money on both and you got a lot of experience out of both as well. So it makes you a more avid flipper for the next deal.
Real quick, and I actually have to head out a little bit early.
yeah, I was trying to give the shout out for Christopher here. He's got to head out.
I'm
Final
sorry.
thoughts for you, contact details.
Yeah, absolutely. If anybody wants to get a hold of me, just text me, 214-202. Ryan, you want to like put this down so that somebody on the
Kill his mic.
214-202-3046 is my cell phone. Just text me. But real quick on that.
What's your terms?
I'm sorry?
What's your terms?
You offer capital,
Terms
right?
for private lending?
Yes.
What's your deal and what's your experience and how much? Tell me about yourself. I mean, it's kind of all over the place. So I've done all sorts of deals. So, but I operate like a private lender, and I actually run out to my deals and look at them, and so not one of those companies out there that's broken.
So if you guys need money,
214-202-3046. Gosh. Oh, whatever. It's time to get a new phone. I was needing a new phone anyway. But no, a lot of people on mentoring, they're paying $25,000, $50,000. If you run into a deal blind and you end up walking away with making money, that is a big hand to you, honestly. So that. It could have been a heck of a lot worse. I know people that have lost $50,000, $100,000. That's no exaggeration on a deal.
That's not hard to do.
It is not. I mean, I personally have lost $45,000 on 2 different deals. So there's not many people that will tell you that in this business. A lot of pros will like beat their chest. They'll be on Facebook. Hey, I never lost money. I never make any mistakes.
That makes me nervous.
Yeah, that's it.
I remember my first Propelio TV. I got on there and I was like, "Yeah, I lost money." He's like, "We got to cut that out." I'm like, "Okay." But,
No, I'll save that for another time.
joke. But I just want to touch on your man. I don't remember what's your name. Christian or no? Hey, it was nice meeting you, bro. Yeah, if you guys need money, he's the man.
Awesome.
But just to touch on your question, ma'am, just because one of my main business models for a lot of years was just buying from other wholesalers. And I'm being dead honest with you. I did no marketing. I had a complete other business, right? And all I was doing was just buying, or I was raising private money, like networking with stuff, guys like him, and then networking with other wholesalers and just put the two together and then have GCs do all the work, right? And that was my entire business model. And there's a couple of things that you have to understand is, for one, you don't really have a lot of control, is because the wholesaler kind of did the lead work, did the marketing, did the sales, did the acquisitions, and the market, he's going to sell it regardless, right? So you want that deal, right? So what worked for me when I was in that position is just networking with more people. You know, it's going to every single meetup, making sure that you're on everybody's buyers list, and just shooting your shot. Shoot your shot, and a shot that works for you. And I promise you will find a stat or a KPI or some type of data where it's like every offer that I shoot out to wholesalers, this one works, and you'll be able to be more confident when you're shooting offers out, you know, and you'll have wholesalers that get upset with you and stuff like that. But the reality is you're going to get wholesalers that are, you know, are fairly new or you might need help. You might be able to help them. It's just like, hey, maybe we can get it a little bit cheaper so we can make sure that you get paid. I used to do that all the time with other wholesalers is let's get in there, let's talk to the seller, and let's try to get a little bit cheaper and then make sure that you get paid, and that's what I care about, right? And you can generate relationships like that because, yeah, the wholesalers all the time get properties under contract at the wrong price, and they're trying to overprice it and don't even know what they're doing. And you can be there for an assistance and add value to them, and you know they get paid and they're happy, and they'll bring you more deals, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what worked for me. So
if y'all didn't catch that, sell a property to Donovan and then convince him to go to the seller and make you more money. This is what I'm going to do from now on.
Yeah, I should. Like there was literally times. Have I ever bought a deal from anybody in here? No. Oh wow, that's a first.
Show me your HUDs, bro.
Well, no, it's just like, I mean, there's times where it's just like I want wholesalers to make as much money possible because I know if I help them do that, they're going to put the money back to the business, and which I hope. You know, I've seen wholesalers make $25,000, $30,000 and go on vacation, and you'll never see them again. You know, like, are you in business to go on vacation, or are you in business to have a business, right? So, you know, make your money. You guys are all here to learn, so you guys can be profitable, but be smart with your chips. You know.
All right. So this question's like tax business purpose because we're all obviously we're all trying to be out of business one day, right? So when we're wholesaling and everything, when do we start the whole LLC and the whole, you know, owning the business standpoint, building our website, you know, cards, you know, all that jazz?
So let me hit that one. So for me, this is just, I think that's a personal preference. So I think initially when you are first starting, you do not need an LLC. You do not need all this other stuff when you're very, very first starting. I think when you first start, the biggest thing is just to start getting deals. Okay. Once you start closing deals, then focus on doing all the extra stuff. To be quite honest, on your very first deal, in my opinion, our experience, you don't even need a website for your very first deal.
Right.
You don't need an LLC for your first deal. But I would say maybe like after you've done a couple, like, you know, get 2 under your belt, then reinvest some of that money that you've actually made from that assignment fee, then start doing that. So I would say get the first couple deals first, then start focusing on doing the extra stuff.
You do need some business cards though. Vistaprint $9.99. What you said?
Yeah, that's my personal preference, but that's my personal preference.
To be honest, I still to this day don't have business cards. I have a company website. It sucks. It's a on Carrot website. The LLC, you know, like I only have an LLC because the government made me get an LLC. Like I remember, I'll show you now. My title company called me. He's like, "Dude, you got to get an LLC." I'm like, "What is that?" Like, I had no desire to do it. You know what I mean? So it's you can't put that as a limiting belief to make something happen. You know, you make something happen, and then things will just fall into place as need be.
Answer the question. Good with that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Do a couple deals like they said, and I would say once you know this is what you want to do, you're successful, you see the big picture, I would definitely get an LLC and do all the tax purposes for sure.
There are 2 benefits to an LLC. One's asset protection and the other one's asset preservation. You get different taxing through an LLC. You'll be able to structure yourself with the right CPA and save yourself money on taxes. And then it's asset segregation. So in the event that you do end up in litigation, your LLC, if it's properly maintained via, you know, your corporate veils and corporate minutes and everything else that you need to do to protect yourself, it gives you a way to protect your wealth. So some of the things I tell people starting out is if you have no wealth to protect, I wouldn't worry about it too much. And if you're not really worrying about saving your taxes, I'd worry about all that at the point in time when I'm generating the revenue and I have the assets to protect.
Hi, my name's Robin, and my husband Raymond and I are flippers. My question to you is, how long did it take for you to get your list, and what's the most, how fast can you get your list? I know Donovan, I know how he does it. He got me on his list pretty quickly through Facebook, and I assume all of y'all are using a social media of some sort, if not several.
Talk about a buyer's list?
Yes.
I would think just a text message.
Uh-huh.
If anyone here, I would think just be a simple text message, right? Add me to your buyer's list. I think these guys, being in this market, would love to add more and more to their buyer list. Let's correct me if I'm wrong. No, you want to start wholesale? Oh, I thought you said. Oh. Okay.
So
Yeah. So you're trying to create.
You're asking what's the best methods to actually build a buyer's list? So a couple. So one thing is start getting very, very involved in the Facebook groups. You'll start seeing like there'll be other wholesalers that'll post a deal. Hey, I got a deal in Dallas at 322. Who's interested? And then you'll start seeing all the emails and things like that. So you can pull the emails that way. You can even if you don't feel comfortable just pulling the emails and putting them in your database like that, you can even PM the people once you see that they've posted an email. For me personally, what I personally do is I will go to a Facebook group. I'll look at another wholesaler's post, but people respond to ours a lot as well. But I'll look at another wholesaler's post, and what I'll do is if I'll see all these different emails, and I don't just automatically implement all of those emails to our buyers list. I'll actually look at the person's Facebook page too. Like for instance, if they don't have a picture on the Facebook profile, I'm like, like where are you hiding from? Kind of that's just my personal thing. So I'll look at their Facebook page, and if I see that they're kind of doing investor stuff and things like that, they're talking about flips that they've done and rentals and things like, I'll add them. So that's one way. Another way is you can go to gosection8.com. You can find buyers and stuff like that there. Those are landlords on there that are looking to sell properties, and you can go there. You can go to Craigslist. You can partner with other wholesalers that are already established, that have buyers. Man, there's so many ways. You can go to Zillow, to the rental section in Zillow. There's just a lot. I mean, if you have a great deal, it's going to be very easy to find a buyer.
I would say simple networking for sure. And then what type of platform do you have now to use to send out the emails? Have you got that far? On what type of platform? The flip side? Yeah. Okay. Sure. So you got the mailing platform like MailChimp, Constant Contact to actually gauge how many emails are opening. Because you get, I don't know how everyone else feels, but if you want to send emails, a buyer or a lead or anything, a wholesale deal to anyone and everyone, I mean, if you're not really preventing them, they could be what they call daisy chainers, where another wholesaler will try to add a fee on top of your fee, and that could go on for a couple of times. That's happened to me. I'm selling a deal for 50, next thing you know, I get a phone call, hey, you want to buy this deal for 58? When I'm the one that got the contract for a certain price. If you want to vet all the buyers leads, that's if you want to do it, especially if you're starting at an app. If you already have a 10,000, 5,000 buyers list, I mean, that's a little tough. But if you're starting fresh, I would interview or just a quick phone call. Can you send me a proof of funds, or do you have a hard money lender that you're doing it? What type of deals can I look at or the CAD here and see if they actually flipped the house before? That's be the first thing. Because you don't want to send an email out and someone circumvent you, because unfortunately in this business that can happen for sure.
Yeah,
But
I
the
really
MailChimp,
believe in MailChimp. If
Yeah.
you're going, we use MailChimp to this day. You can lose your buyers list very easy through these huge ones. We've been there, we've done that. You also have to scrub your list. That being said, I'm really big fan on people opting into your list. So creating a link and saying, please opt into my list. Like, we have to do that in several markets because we're in so many different markets. And so we have to, like, you can have a buy and hold. Like, I don't really like to do buy and hold list versus a flipper list. I like just one list per market, and I like to keep it clean and intimate. You don't have to have 30,000 buyers. If you had a link right here, You know, like if I had a link, I mean, I post it up there if you really want to be on our buyers list. You know, like you can do that cold calling for buyers. You know, but I honestly, you go to anything like this, you go to the Propelio meetup next week, just you can do it organically. People will buy your stuff if you put out a good product, it'll sell itself.
All right, so you're asking the quickest way to build your buyers list, right? All right, this might be a little technical for everybody, but this is what I do. I go to one of my buddies has a list you can buy per state. It's called cashbuyersplus.com. You can go and buy that list, and you'll get the entire state of every single licensed realtor. But on top of that, there's cash transactions of buyers on there, and you can scrub that list, make sure they're valid phone numbers. And what I do is I send a text blast. I'm like, hey, first name, someone told me you might by chance be interested in off-market properties or fix and flips. Is that true? If so, what's your email? And the people that respond with emails, I download that list and I upload it into Constant Contact, and I put it into a cold list. And in that list, I start sending deals to without the address with pictures. And then people start reaching back out to me and they're interested. And now what I do is I have, or a sales guy, or it could be you, is now we vet them. Now we make sure that they're legit before we give them the address, and we have them sign a non-disclosure before we actually put them on our VIP list. And then they move from the cold section to VIP. So every time we get a deal, it hits their cell phone or however they want to be contacted. So that's how you build a buyer's list of like 30,000 in like 15 minutes.
Well, one last thing on that. Don't overthink it, just like everything else in this business. I've never once sold a house to 10,000 people. I only sell it to one. You only need to know the one. Like the last property we got under contract, I was like, I already know who's going to buy it. It was one phone call. And then I sent it out to my list just so I could tell them, oh, sorry, it was sold.
Yeah, use it to keep marketing, you know, so you can use a property to still build your buyers list. You can even say on it like, hey, got more deals like this coming down the pipeline, missed out on this one, you know, however you want to do it.
Yeah. And then on top of that, I use Propelio, or my guys use Propelio now, where we go around the property and we look for properties that look like they're fixed up in rehab, and we skip trace and find the LLC owner, and we call them directly. If they don't answer, then we call the agent, and then put them on our list like that. And I would recommend finding a deal first, because if you have a deal, you'll find a buyer. You know, the buyers is the easiest part.
So on one side of that, Propelio now has the ability to type in an address and then say, show me all cash sales within a 1 mile, 5 mile, 10 mile radius. So if you've got a property, say, show me all cash sales in the last 2 years within 5 miles, you now have a list of everybody that's real nearby, likely landlords or flippers that are buying and transacting in that area. Export that list, skip, and go to town on that. So it kind of helps the dispo on that side. But we are getting close to the end, so I'd like to give maybe one last question if it's going to be quick. If not, I'd like to go ahead and let the panel, one last question, and then I'd like to let the panel give a moment to say kind of a little bit about who they are, if they offer any services. I know a couple of them have masterminds and stuff like that. Let them talk about that, and we'll move on.
Okay, real quick, what's the onboarding process when it comes to hiring virtual assistants for like cold calling? Maybe if they were like maybe in the Philippines, for instance, is it training on video, or do you do everything over the phone, or how does that work?
So with us, we have a boiler room, and my boy, his name's Manny Cash. He handles that along with Frank Tovar, who's the manager of the office. They find the VAs, they train them. A lot of them was what's the one, James, what? Or John Martinez. John Martinez, if you guys have heard of that, put them on John Martinez, put them on Propelio Academy. And when it comes to our office, we put them on the academy if they're brand new, right? But when it comes to the VAs, TTP, have you heard of Brent Daniels? Yeah, so a lot of these guys, a lot of these VAs that we found actually came from other companies that were already trained, just mistreated for whatever the case is. So they already have the knowledge, and these VAs have actually already went above and beyond, knowing the knowledge that when we make these phone calls to the VAs, they already know call tools, they already know investor views, they've heard of Propelio, they know CRMs. It's a lot easier than most people would think with the VAs. They want to get paid. They're hungry. They want to work, and there's just so much system out there. Antone Campbell, he has a good VA program too, so go check that out.
Oh, so I always recommend. I mean, it kind of depends on the angle that you want. I mean, just a piece of advice, guys. If you guys are looking to hire VAs for cold calling, and you get somebody like especially if you don't have a high budget, I would always recommend spending a little bit more so you can get better English. Because if you get somebody for like $2-3 an hour, and you put them on the phones and you can't even understand them when you're interviewing them, chances you guys getting a deal, it's just not gonna happen, right? Like, I mean, we have like a bunch of them, right? And then they're like coming with bazookas, and it just you want to hire them in bulk. That's what I'm saying. So how we hire them is we actually we call them kingpins, and you'll find them on Upwork where you'll have one guy he's charging like 350 or whatever, and then he's selling a service of his virtual or of his team. And we always like those, what we call them kingpins, is people or somebody that has multiple VAs that work for them, because we just train that one guy and then he trains the VAs to call. So I don't have to work with each one individually. I can just train that one guy.
I would say one other thing. One, make when you're training them, schedule the interview during the times that you would actually want them to be working, and also watch out for the background noise. I think we interviewed a VA one time, and we heard roosters in the background, and we were like, "Is that a rooster?" They were like, "We don't hear anything." Yeah, she said it was her fan. So that is you want someone that's clear, get a voice sample. But when we do our training, like when we're training our VAs on something specific, we do video training, and you can use like free tools, like free conference call or whatever, where you can share your screen and stuff like that. But they can reference back to it as well. So it just depends on what you are looking to train them on.
And then you can use it again if you have to hire more or fire and retrain. I document that closing note, document everything.
Mr. Moore, do you want us to wrap this up? So I'll go with our shameless plug. Cassie and I, we're part of Next Level Flipping. It's an online mastermind. We specifically run the group called the Rising Stars Program. It's for people that are doing 25 or less deals a year. It's $100 a month or $1,000 annually. And what you get from that is pretty similar to what this room is right here. But we do it all online. We have Zoom calls where we bring in people that have been referenced already, like Brent Daniels, John Martinez. We're talking to Mr. Moore back there about getting Propelio involved with Next Level Flipping as well, because our core values align and what we want to accomplish. But we have Zoom calls where we bring in service providers. We talk about your needs in your business specifically and how we can help each other, how we can network and grow and collaborate. You're already stealing it from me?
Get the other one. It's like it is in a true sense a mastermind. It's not a coaching program, but it's lifetime, where you are in your business, where you are in your journey, and the group actually helps each other a lot as well. So you're basically surrounded by think of it round table style.
Yeah, so a good example of that is that we've done multiple deals with people in the group. Now at this point in time, anytime I get a property under contract, I'm going to send it to. I mean, we refer to it as our family. I'm going to send it to the people in the family first and foremost. We also have service provider discounts with some of the service providers that were already mentioned in here, like Batch Skip Tracing, Yellow Letter HQ, which comes along with List Source. Things along those lines. If you utilize the service provider discounts, you should be profitable just by being in the group. So yeah, that's our shameless plug for Next Level Flipping.
Everybody, again, Jay Coleman, Marsha Coleman here of JMC Property Group. We're very active on Facebook, so if you guys want to actually contact us, that's one of the best ways to contact us is via Facebook. So Jay Coleman, Marsha Coleman. But hey, I know that you guys have had a ton of information, a ton of value being given to you guys right now. If you guys need help with this and you guys are looking to get those deals done, again, Marsha and I, we do quite a few JV deals every month with new and experienced wholesalers, so we're here to help you get those dots connected and get some of those deals across the table.
Go green and white. Also, we have a JMC Realty Group. You need a realtor? I'm your gal. So, so give me a call. JMC Realty Group, JMC Property Group. Where hopefully we can be your one-stop shop. Please go like our page on Facebook as well. Thank you.
All right, guys. Again, I'm from the San Antonio market, but we like to provide value. I think everyone up here is the same thing. If you guys are interested, you can join our Facebook group. It's called Home Buying Wholesaling Association. We like to share a lot of tips and tricks on what we do. I know this is a wholesaling event, but we do subject twos, rentals, Airbnbs, and all the tips and tricks that we're doing for each subcategory. Feel free to go to the Home Buying Wholesaling Association and request membership. We also like to do daily training. With that daily training, we have a website. This website is www.turnupthehustle.com. On our website, there's always something going on every single day. On Mondays, when it's masterminding or marketing. On Tuesdays, we do a lot of SMS. SMS is where we send out text message blast. We respond back and forth with buyers on selling the properties and how we're closing deals and outside of markets. Our boy Alejandro, who's heading that event, he does Zoom calls every Tuesday. We call it Texting Tuesday. Myself and my partner, we do a podcast every Wednesday talking about different subjects, whatever deal we do for that week, whether it's sub-2 or owner financing, wraparound mortgages, however the case is, we will share, we'll provide value. On Thursdays, we do what we call guerrilla marketing, how it is to have other outside ideas of creative marketing on Thursdays. And then on Fridays, one of the most important ones is how to talk to sellers, cold calling, where we'll actually go on a live call. We'll show you the seller's name, seller's number. We'll go on a live call and you see how we're talking to those individuals, what key points, what scripts we're using, and how it actually works. And in other times, we're actually locking up a contract right then and there on a live call through Zoom. So again, that's www.turnupthehustle.com, and you can join us on Facebook at Home Buying Wholesaling Association.
What's up, guys? I guess the service that I have a 1-day intensive at my office. So you guys will be able to come to my office, see how our team operates and flows, and essentially how this is designed is it's a workshop. And it's not, to be honest, I know there's a lot of people that haven't got their first deal yet. I don't recommend this for somebody that haven't got their first deal for a number of reasons, just because it is kind of like a pretty advanced training, and it's pretty advanced stuff, just because we're gonna open up your entire business model, see what works for you, see what doesn't work for you, and then we're gonna open up our entire business with no secrets from A to Z and give you everything that we possibly know, and then you'll leave with like a 30 to 60 day game plan on success in a business model. But like I said, it's a couple $1,000s, and once you guys are serious about scaling your business, and actually turning it into like something that you can do full time, and start hiring people, we can go through that entire process from A to Z, all the way from finding how we do market research, all the way to how we're hiring managers to hire other people in the sales office. So you'll pretty much get everything. So if you guys are interested in that, you guys can reach out to me on Facebook, Donovan Ruffin. I'm actually easier to contact on IG. It's the Donovan Ruffin, at the Donovan Ruffin. Probably faster on there, just because my VAs work my Facebook. Or you guys can ask me in person if you guys are interested. So that's what I have. Also, I buy houses. So if you guys have any wholesale deals in the Dallas market, you can shoot them to me on Facebook. One of my VAs will pick them up, and then my team will review, see if it's something that we can pick up. You got a question? To be honest, we're looking for 1985 and above in 3.2s. We like brick, but we can do. I mean, we can work with it, but I mean that's pretty much our criteria. We'll give you a number of what we need it at. We like Tarrant County, to be honest with you. We don't really like Dallas, but if the numbers make sense, we can buy in Dallas.
One more thing, guys. I'm really heavily involved in subject twos. So if you guys I'm open to buying Dallas subject two deals. If you guys have a sub two deal, I'll be open to looking at those numbers, and hopefully we can create a relationship with you guys and everyone up here. And again, of course, a huge shout out to Daniel, Ryan, and Edwin, the Propelio team, for putting this together.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
That's it, man. Let's turn up the hustle.
Where's the alcohol? No.